Hello, I'm going to talk to you about climate. If you want to follow along as I read this out loud, I will be highlighting and underlining things. You should do the same on your text that you have pasted into your spiral. Climate. Yesterday, we talked about the layers of the atmosphere, and with the layers of the atmosphere, in the lowest level, we have the troposphere. Within the troposphere is where our weather occurs. But before we can talk about weather, we're going to talk about climate because there are things within climate that affect our daily weather. So, climate. Think about climate in the area that you live. It's typically warm and dry. Is it cool and wet? Or do you live in an area that has different conditions depending on the season? This would be like here in Missouri. So go ahead and highlight climate. Climate is the general weather of an area over a long period of time and includes seasonal wet changes in weather. We just talked about seasons in our last unit, and the 4 seasons that we have, depending on where you live on Earth, you might not have as drastic changes in the seasons. The terms climate and weather are not the same thing. Recall that highlight weather is simply the conditions of the atmosphere at a particular time and place and can change quickly and frequently. Climate is more of a general snapshot of weather conditions over a long period of time, and there are several factors that affect the climate of an area. I'm going to go back in and underline these things. So climate is a general weather of an area over a long period of time. Sorry, I don't have a mouse. And then weather is simply the conditions of the atmosphere at a particular time and place. It can change quickly and frequently. We know here in Missouri that it can be sunny on the day before, 70 degrees out, and the next day be 8 degrees. One of the factors affecting the climate of a given area is latitude. So if you want to highlight latitude, or how far north or south of the equator the location is. Generally, temperatures decrease the farther away from the equator that you live. I'm going to underline how far north or south of the equator the location is. We just talked about the equator in our seasons unit. Elevation. Elevation also plays a role in the climate of a location. I'm going to underline this. Elevation.
Good evening, everyone. Now it is time to dismiss for the day. Please have a great evening. Thank you.
Sorry. Elevation is the distance of a place above sea level. So depending on if you live high up in the mountains, like in Colorado, it's usually cold all year round, or they have colder or milder summers. Or if you live in a valley or at sea level, temperatures generally decrease as elevation increases. We learned this in atmosphere yesterday. For example, if you drove from Phoenix, Arizona, elevation of 1,112 feet, to Flagstaff, Arizona at 7,000 feet high, the temperature could drop up to 30 degrees between the two places. You could be in shorts and tank top in Phoenix while it's snowing in Flagstaff, only 2 hours away. And distance from the water, let's highlight that. This affects climate because water temperature rises and falls much more slowly than the land or the air temperatures. If you've ever been to a place around the ocean like Florida or North Carolina, it takes it longer for it to heat up and longer for it to cool down, like in the winter time. And a lot of times winter doesn't really start in those areas till late in the fall, November, and then it usually starts to warm up in March. Have you ever visited a coastal area? You'll notice a definite difference in temperature the closer you get to the water in the summer. In the winter, the water is warmer than the air above the land. The area further inland from the coastal regions tend to have greater differences in temperature from the summer to winter. Winds that blow steadily in the specific direction are called global winds. So we're going to underline winds that blow steadily in a specific direction. And we'll talk about this more when we get to weather. But global winds have a big deal to do with our weather. They're a factor in determining climate in an area as well. Global winds can affect the temperature and the amount of moisture an area receives. For example, winds that blow onto land from a warmer body of water carry warmer and moist air over the land. Ocean currents also affect the temperature and the land mass. they pass by. And then I'm going to underline this. Warmer currents spread warmer air. Cooler currents spread cooler air. And the last thing we're going to highlight is ocean currents. Different areas of our Earth have very different climates. Most climates are classified by average temperatures in the area, as well as how much and what type of precipitation that area receives. Think of a place you have visited, read about, or seen on TV that has a much different climate than your own.